everyone to mute yourself, if you would, and then to unless you're driving, we love to see your lovely face. I get it. There are times that while we're off screen, we're not feeling all that lovely. But tonight, I'd really like to ask you to do that. And then, if you would write your questions down rather than put them in the chat as the presenter is speaking, I will facilitate your questions, and we really want you to be engaged. I will say this: you will be engaged and want to talk as she's presenting because has such a welcoming presentation, and I'm so excited to share with you. So this month, as Dr. Walker has said, is throughout our nation is dedicated to raising awareness on issues related to mental health. The focus of this session is the intersection between mental health and conflict resolution. 25% of Americans will require behavioral services, and 1 in 8 individuals globally are living with mental health disorder, driven by rising rates of anxiety and depression, and of course, other things. Appropriate conflict resolution techniques safeguard mental health by alleviating stress and nurturing positive relationships. Whereas ineffective management may result in increased anxiety, depression, symptoms, and impaired decision making. Tonight, I want to ask you if you would join me in welcoming our presenter at the end of her bio with your emoji hand claps. Lakeisha Johnson is a certified professional coactive coach. Lakeisha is is a learning and development leader, certified career coach, and CEO of training and development consulting firm dedicated to building people and strengthening teams. She currently leads learning and development and performance management for SRI International, where she focuses on cultivating talent, driving organizational growth, and equipping leaders with the tools to succeed. And as leaders, we all know conflict resolution is an important tool. With many years of experience in leadership development, instructional design, and employment management, Lakeisha has designed and managed impactful development programs that help individuals and organizations reach their highest potential. Her career spans multiple roles, including teaching, administration, consultant, and director of learning and development, each shaping her holistic approach and the courage to lift others as we climb. A champion for empowering future generations, Lakeisha inspires audiences to lead with purpose, authenticity, and impact. She is an active and proud member and former president of the Pi Sigma Omega chapter in Cerritos of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I truly want to re-emphasize the fact that Lakeisha is a person of passion. And I am so grateful to welcome her. Would you join me with your emojis and your reaction button and with a hand clap in welcoming Lakeisha to our time together? Welcome, Lakeisha Johnson.
Thank you all so much, and thank you for the opportunity to spend a little time with you this evening talking about conflict resolution. So we are just gonna get right into it. I am going to share my screen and we will get started. All right, we're all good to go, right? Everyone can see my screen. All right, no technical difficulties. I love it. All right. Well, once again, welcome everyone. Thank you all for having me. Today we're going to talk about something we all experience, but a lot of times we don't always feel equipped to handle it, and that's conflict. So, it shows up at work, it shows up at home, it shows up in everyday interactions, and conflict can do two things. It can either break down communication or it can build a stronger understanding. What's the difference? The difference is in how we respond to it. So, this isn't just about avoiding arguments, it's about gaining tools to navigate tough conversations and navigate them with clarity, confidence, and intention. So, it's my hope that by the end of our time together, you'll walk away with some practical strategies you can use immediately to shift your approach to conflict and ultimately protect your peace while strengthening your relationships. All right, so before we dive in, I want you all to think about the last time you experienced conflict. It can be big or small. Probably was today. So maybe it was a disagreement, a misunderstanding, or a moment when emotions just ran high. So hopefully you have that conflict in your mind. Ask yourself, how did you respond in that moment? And more importantly, did your response help the situation or make it more difficult? So there's no judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone, right? We just want to build awareness. All right, everyone have their moment. I won't ask you to share out that personal thing. We'll have a time to talk and interact in a moment. But I do have one more question for you that I would like for you to, and we're an intimate group, so just let me know. What do you think? Is conflict good or bad? So you could just
Want
come.
to comment or
Yeah,
was
yes, please. Uh-huh.
I think it depends on the situation. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have one more person that wants to share out?
Hmm. Yes, I don't think all conflict are not is not bad.
Right.
Some conflicts are good because something good can come out of it. Like you said, a better understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, depend on the situation and what the conflict is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
May I ask you for a definition of conflict?
Yes, thank you. I am glad you asked. So, what is conflict? So these are two definitions of conflict that I found. One's from the dictionary, and one is from a tool called the Thomas Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument. Some of you may be familiar with it. So, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, conflict is a difference that prevents agreement. It can be an antagonistic state or action, like divergent ideas, interests, or persons. That's from the dictionary. Now, from the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode instrument, the definition of conflict is the perceived incompatibility of interests, needs, or goals between two or more parties. So for me, the difference in these two definitions is the words perceived incompatibility. That word perceived stood out to me because what they don't tell us is that conflict is actually neutral. It's neither good nor bad inherently. It's a catalyst that becomes productive or destructive based on how it's managed, right? So conflict is neutral. It isn't good or bad. As humans, we are the ones that make it a good thing or a bad thing based on how we respond. And why does that matter? It's really important because we know conflict does not stay contained in one moment, right? It spills over into how we communicate, how we feel, how we connect with others. We could have just had a conflict with one person and we take it out on the next person that we see, right? Like we might be snappy or snarky with them, and it's really not about them. It's about the conflict that we experienced previous to encountering them. So when conflict is handled poorly or even avoided altogether, it can increase stress, it damages relationships, it can impact our overall well-being. But when it's handled effectively, it can actually strengthen trust and understanding, right? Because we know we can be vulnerable with that person. We can work together to come to a positive result. And so that's the shift we want to focus on today, keeping in mind that conflict is more than a moment. And so what happens when it isn't resolved? Does it just disappear? Absolutely not. We know it does not disappear. It shows up in us. We start overthinking the conversation, right? Did I say this right? Did I say this wrong? Should I have said it this way? Oh, I should have said this. We replay situations. We replay it in our heads. We replay it with our significant others, our best friend. We just replay that situation over and over again. We may even start to avoid the person we had the conflict with. Or when we see them the next time, we immediately feel tension in our body, or even thinking about it, we feel tension because we know that there's some unresolved conflict that needs to be taken care of. So that one moment can take up hours of your mental space, right? And that's exhausting. It's emotional labor because when you're in conflict, you have to regulate your emotions. You have to stay composed even when you're triggered, and you may even have to de-escalate someone else. And so that's where that mental capacity becomes involved and may diminish as we're going through this conflict because it's constant emotional demand. So you may be like, this is all great. We know all this. We felt all this before, but so how do we handle it, right? And protect our emotional space. So there is a tool called the Thomas Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument that I have used, and I wanted to share with you because I think it would be very helpful. And this tool identifies 5 common approaches to conflict. So here's the thing, each one of us has a default way that we handle conflict. So this is the way that we handle conflict most often. This is our go-to. And this model gives you 5 of those ways that we handle conflict and what it looks like. So this model is based on 2 things, how assertive we are, meaning how much we push for our own needs, and then how cooperative we are, or how much we consider others' needs. So if we start with the first mode, it's competing. So this is all about winning. So you're standing firm on your position. You're like, it's my way or the highway, right? We're doing it my way or no way at all. That's competing. So this is very high assertive, very low cooperation. The next mode is avoiding. So this is when we step back and we just ignore the conflict altogether. So if you look at the icon here, you see she's like the Matrix, right? Any way she can avoid it, she is going to avoid this issue and sidestep it. I don't even want to talk about it. That is the second, avoiding. The next one is accommodating. So this is where we prioritize the other person's needs over our own. So I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna let them have it. We can just do it their way. And, maybe the next time we'll do it my way. Next is compromising. So this is where we're meeting in the middle. It's not high assertive, it's not low assertive, it's not high cooperation, low cooperation. We're honestly just meeting in the middle. And really with compromising, what happens is both sides end up giving something up in order to resolve the conflict. And the last mode is collaborating. So this is the goal really for most situations. This is where you want to work together to find a solution that fully addresses both sides. So you're working towards a win-win. So both people win, both it's mutually beneficial for everyone involved. So once again, this is the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode, and he actually has an assessment you can take to understand what your dominant conflict mode is. But we know us, we live with us every day. We pretty much know what our dominant conflict mode is just by looking at these. And so think about which style you use most. And there's no right or wrong. The effectiveness depends on when and how you use your mode. All right. So let's see, show of hands with your emoji hand or a thumbs up. Dominant mode, who is mainly that competing role? And remember, there's no right or wrong. All right. What about avoiding? Uh-oh, sorry about that. Compromising. Okay, I see one. Avoiding. Compromising. All right. A lot of compromising. Accommodating. And collaborating. Okay. All right. So it seems like the majority of us, our default style is compromising, right? Where we're meeting right in the middle. Um, and like I said, there's no right or wrong conflict mode style. It's all in figuring out when to utilize each one dependent on the situation. The key is not to always go to your dominant style. The key is to learn when to shift. Okay, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So you've identified your dominant style. So let's connect this to real life. If you tend to avoid conflict, it doesn't go away, it builds. And sometimes that can lead to anxiety, overthinking, and emotional fatigue. If you lean towards competing, you may resolve things quickly, but it can create tension and strain relationships, which adds stress in the long run. If you accommodate too much, you keep the peace, but sometimes at your own expense. And then over time, that turns into resentment and burnout. Compromising, that's what majority of us said our dominant style was. It feels efficient, but sometimes it does leave both sides only partially satisfied. So the issue can resurface. And lastly, collaborate. This is the healthiest long-term approach, but it requires time, it requires emotional regulation and skill. So this is the one that takes the most work. And sometimes we don't have time to, just life is life and we don't have time to do all of that. But the key, once again, is not to just use one style, it's to use the right style at the right time. So when would I use these? What's the right time? When would you use your competing style? This is when it's urgent or high stakes situation. So, this is when you have to make that executive decision, like we need to make a decision quickly, or I have to, we got to get this done. That's when you would utilize your competing conflict mode style. You would use avoiding when emotions are too high. So, I don't want to hurt this person's feeling, or, I'm going to avoid it right now because I don't want them to crash out on me. They might, they might not be ready to have this conversation. Accommodating, you would use this style when the relationship matters more than whatever the conflict is. So, I really don't want to eat Chipotle again this week. I know that's their favorite. They want to eat it every Friday, but it's not worth this conflict. So I'm just going to go ahead and, get my burrito and accommodate this person. Compromise. So you have limited time. So we don't have time to, go through this long process with collaboration to come to a place where we both get what we want. So we're going to compromise. So I'll sacrifice this, and this person will sacrifice that in order to get it resolved. And then collaborate. This is when you have time to really sit down, to really talk it out, work through all of the tough conversations and things like that to come to a win-win. So that is how you would utilize each conflict mode style when you are flexing and not always just going right to your dominant style. And that's the goal. That's what you want. So it's about a mindset shift when it comes to conflict resolution and utilizing the different conflict modes. Conflict is hard. It's hard for so many reasons, right? We don't want to make things worse many times. There may be some power dynamics involved. We're stretched thin, so this is just like one more thing on our plate that we don't want to deal with. So many times we default, right? We default to our dominant conflict mode style because that's what's comfortable, that's what's easy. And keep in mind, the goal isn't to change who you are, it's to expand your range. So we want to shift. We want to shift from being reactive, so leading conflict with our emotions, being defensive, thinking I have to have immediate reaction right now. And we want to shift to being responsive. So we're going from being emotional to really focusing on being intentional. From being defensive to really being more thoughtful in the conflict resolution. From immediate reaction to a solution-focused reaction. And the reason why we want to shift from being reactive to responsive is because this is going to create space for us to think, for us to listen, actively listen, and to choose a more productive outcome. So the shift alone can completely change the direction of a conversation because we hear this all the time, right? It's not always what you say, but how you say it. So that is the mindset shift that we want to keep at top of mind when we are experiencing the process of conflict resolution. And this helps to create empathy, right? You're putting yourself in someone else's shoes, and it helps to create sisterliness, which is, with sororities, what we really encourage, what we really want is sisterliness and being empathetic to our sisters. So, what does this mindset shift look like? What are some tools and strategies that we can use to accomplish this? I'm going to share with you what I call the conflict reset framework. So it's 3 steps. You want to pause, you want to process, and you want to proceed. So this framework is going to allow you to interrupt the pattern of being reactive and defaulting to your go-to conflict resolution style, and to reset the moment. So when you feel yourself going into your default style, you're going to reset. So what does this look like? First, you're going to pause. So you're going to create space between the trigger, whatever that is, and your response. Even a few seconds can prevent an escalation. We always teach students wait time, give your students wait time, give yourself wait time as well when you are in conflict. And you don't always have to respond immediately. Keep that in mind, but you should respond effectively. So that is the purpose of this pause. The pause may be a few seconds, the pause may be a day or two. In the moment, you have to decide what that pause looks like. Next, you want to process. So you're going to ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I actually feeling? And what's really going on here? So what's the real issue? Do my feelings align with the real issue that we have? And then most importantly, or just as important, you want to ask yourself, what might the other person be experiencing? So this is where that empathy comes in, right? Thinking about understanding how you're feeling, thinking about how the other person may be feeling, and how it aligns with the real issue. So this step is going to help you build awareness and empathy. All right. Then, and it's also going to inform you on which conflict mode style you should use to effectively resolve this conflict. Then you will proceed. So you're going to choose how to respond, which conflict mode strategy would work best, how should I move forward instead of reacting automatically and going to that default mode. And this is where you're going to communicate clearly, focus on solutions, not the problem, but solutions, and aim for understanding, not just being right. So that is the reset framework. It's simple, but it's powerful. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. So it's not going to feel comfortable the first time you do it or the first few times you do it. It becomes comfortable the more you utilize the framework. Right. So think about that conflict, come back to that conflict we recognized earlier, and think about using the pause, process, proceed framework in that conflict. Which step do you think is the hardest for you? And you can come off mute. Like I shared this process with my husband. He was like, right off the bat, it's pause because I'm ready to go in right away. I don't pause. I don't want to pause. So, which step is the hardest for you? Pause, process, or proceed? Or maybe we don't know yet, huh? Until we try it.
This
Did
is
you
a
want
safe
me to
space.
comment or just
Yeah, yeah, it's a safe space. Yes, come off mute and comment if you choose.
I'm writing mine down right now.
Yep.
So we have in the chat process and proceed are hardest for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Yeah, for many people it's the pause, right? Because we are reactive a lot of times, and especially if someone triggered you, like, and or they know what your button is, that pause part is hard because we're ready to just go in and say and give our thoughts and resolve this by giving them a piece of our mind or saying no, we're not doing that, this is what we're doing. So pause is really hard. Yeah, and then proceed, right? Especially if we're going to be utilizing a style that we're not comfortable with or proceeding in a way that we normally don't respond, that can be very hard.
Judith Brooks has her hand up.
Thank you for recognizing me. I just wanted to mention that the presenter, I'm sorry, I don't know can't remember your name right now. This is a
Mhm.
really good presentation. Sori Johnson. Um, I really like this presentation, but you hit it on the head. Like when somebody is deliberately baiting me,
Mhm.
and they're competitive. I don't know why, but they're feeling competitive with me and they're getting into areas that none of their business. And I don't want to discuss it. I don't want to go there. But they're trying to bait me to get information.
Mhm.
And there's triggers. That part is hard. You need to pause. But I was also reading someplace. I'm always check They say if somebody's doing that, it's perfectly all right for me to get up and move.
Yes.
And I'm going to do that next time. I'm just going to say, excuse me, and just get up and move.
Mhm.
Especially when I'm trying to enjoy myself and somebody's sitting there trying to bait me.
Exactly. And you are exactly right. So there are some other helpful tips that I wanted to share as you go through this process and proceed. One of them is setting boundaries. And so that is what you were speaking of, Judith. You can, it's absolutely okay to set boundaries, protect your time and your energy. You could even say, I'd like to give this the attention it deserves. Can we schedule some time to talk? Or maybe they just came to you and you're taken aback, you're taken off guard. You haven't had time to even process. It's
Well, this is
okay
something
to,
that I don't even want to deal with. It's not
Mhm.
important to me.
Yeah.
Or
And
the relationship with this person is not important to me. So it's not anything I want to even spend time with. It's
mhm.
one thing if it's something that's important to me or a relationship that's valuable to me. But if it's none of that, then I don't want to spend time with it.
Okay, so then you're using the avoiding conflict mode, and like we said, there's no right or wrong.
There's
So
no right or wrong in that. But now the thing is, if it's something that's important to me and I want the relationship, then that's different. Then you proceed forward. But if it isn't,
mhm.
you just
Yeah, I agree. Yes. Mhm. And I mean, depending on, like you said, the importance of the relationship and also the arena that you're in, you can just, share that with the person so that it doesn't continue to resurface as well. And that's totally up to you. Like I said, every situation, every dynamic is different, but you also have to think about, the arena that you're in as well. And not saying you have to address it, but saying, maybe just being honest with that person, like this is not something that I would like to continue a conversation about. And this is why.
All right, just stop the conversation. But if it's going to continue, and I don't want to discuss it, like I
Yeah.
said, if it's not, it depends on what I value. So if
Right. Yeah.
I don't value and I just want my peace, get
Mm.
up and move.
Yes.
I've
Mm.
been told that several times, just get
Yeah.
up and move.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer because it all depends on the situation, what the conflict is, and there are so many things that you have to take into consideration. So I do agree. One of them, the tips is to set boundaries. Another tip you can use is neutral language, right? So you want to shift your language to become neutral, meaning avoiding you statements. So you want to go from, you always do that to, I've noticed that this often happens, as an example. Why are we using neutral language? Because it reduces defensiveness, it keeps the conversation productive, hopefully. The other thing you can do is seek support, right? So use your support system. Talk to a trusted colleague, a trusted soror who will align with being a problem solver. That's the key word. You're talking to them about problem solving and coming to a win-win. You're not saying, do you know she came up to me and said, no, she didn't. Yes. And I said that's not what that support system looks like, right? This is when you're truly wanting to get someone's feedback to help resolve the conflict. So I always say, don't be a problem admirer, be a problem solver. So if you're coming to them to be a problem admirer, that's not what seek support means. You want to loop in leadership when needed. It's not always needed. When needed is the key word because sometimes you're not meant to handle every situation by yourself, and that's okay. And it's okay to loop in leadership or a mediator to help you through it. And once again, that goes back to how important is this conflict? How important is it to the arena that you're in the relationship? And lastly, you want to make sure that you close the loop. So you don't want any unfinished conflict. So when possible, you want to follow up. You want to clarify anything that needs to be clarified, bring closure to the conflict. Why? Because once again, unresolved issues take up our mental space. And I do have a handout that I'll put in the chat after the presentation that goes through the framework. It shares these helpful tips as well as the common Thomas Kilmann conflict modes. So you'll have all of this information. All right, so we've talked about a lot. We've talked about what conflict is. Excuse me. We've talked about the different the framework that you can utilize to help resolve conflict. So I'm going to provide a scenario. I want you guys to just jump in and share your thoughts. Someone sends you a frustrating email. Could be frustrating. You've probably gotten one, insert your scenario here regarding the frustrating email. So walk me through the process of pause, process, and proceed. So rather than clicking reply all or CCing everybody else and saying per my last email, right? What is an effective way using the pause, process, and proceed framework to manage this, to resolve this conflict? Frustrating email, what would you do? What would pause look like?
Possibly asking to set up a meeting at a later date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the contents of the email.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So not even addressing the conflict, right? Just saying, let's chat about this time. Good. I like it.
I might would need a whole nother day just to
Mm-hmm.
think on it, even before I respond with a meeting. I probably wouldn't be, if it's really a heated email, I
Mm-hmm.
probably be able to deal with it until the next day or even possibly a day after that. I know you don't want to wait too long.
Yeah.
Uh, and while I'm thinking about the best way to handle it.
Okay.
Melissa,
Good.
Melissa Jones said, I thank the person for their email and concern. I would like to take some time to research the issue and respond in 2 days.
Okay. Yes, I like that. Very clear and very specific.
Mhm.
Nice. All right. Those are all great. So now, while we're pausing, we're supposed to be processing, right? So what does process look like?
I think it would be to consider where the person
Mhm.
is coming from.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know that the person is coming from an honorable place, it helps to put in perspective what's happening
Mm-hmm.
and look at the options of how to respond. That would be something that would be very key. If you know that a person is being hostile, then you have to think about how to react in a different way than if you know that someone is not being hostile, but they just have a different perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to consider the, I guess, the origin and the intentions of the person's, whatever they're asserting, whatever they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, I like that.
Kimberly, I would agree with you. This is Cheryl McClellan. Sometimes, especially, it could be a friend that's going through a tough time, and it depends on that relationship that you have with that person, how you're going to respond, and in what manner you're going to respond.
Yeah.
And if it, like I said, if it's coming hostile, I have to step back and I'm going to have to look at it and read the email because there's something usually behind that hostility. And,
Mm-hmm.
and you may not be the person it's aimed at. So that's why sometimes you need to just sit back and just think about it before you move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I agree with what has already been said because sometimes you really do have to sit back and think about what was said. Did she misunderstand the communication that I said, that I start the ball to roll, and she responded to what I said or how I said it.
Mhm.
So, like you said, a lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it and the
Yeah.
way she came across. So I would have to give it some thought and really pause and cool off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause when you cool off, some you can accept things. They're like, oh no, I didn't mean it that way. Then you can accept it a little bit better than in the moment, right?
Right.
All right.
Melissa Jones said, process for me may look like reading the email again when I'm done fussing in my mind. Fig-
Yes, yes.
Figuring out what the real issues are and only responding to the issue, propose an answer and get feedback from someone that's not related to the problem.
Yes. Yeah, and I was just gonna share, like in full transparency, one of my last conflicts was an email. And at first I was like, "R- reply." And I typed it up, then I said pause, stopped, let it go for a day or for a couple of hours. I think it was just a couple of hours. And then I actually asked someone that I trusted, like, okay, can you read this email? Is this, it's not snarky, right? And they're like, yeah, it's absolutely snarky. Oh, you told it down. Okay,
Urging
thank
you
you.
on.
Yes, yes. They're like, no, no. They're like, yes, it is absolutely snarky. You should rescind this. You should, take a moment to cool off and then, just reply a different way. And so I did that, and that was very helpful. So sometimes that's what process can look like as well. And then give yourself some time. Like that's where that trusted support person comes in, someone who is gonna hold your feet to the fire and be truly honest with you, like, yeah, no, don't send that, or don't say that, don't do that. And so you can step back, reassess yourself, and then proceed in the proper manner.
Judith has her hand up.
Okay,
Yeah,
Judith.
I just wanted to mention that I pretty much agree with what everyone said, but also with the really heated email. If you have a choice, like, like for me, it would probably be a couple of days before I would respond back. But if you have a choice of not responding back in email and actually meeting and talking to the person, even if it's on Zoom
Mhm.
meeting, to resolve the issue.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because emails are hard, right? Because they're totally up to the other person's interpretation who's receiving it. So yeah, so if you feel like the best thing is to, yeah, let's take a moment to, to chat in person, whether that's in actually physically in person or virtually, then that may be the best route.
Mich-
Okay.
Michelle said, I throw my response into Copilot before responding.
Okay. Okay, that's your trusted partner. That works. All right. Well,
Oh,
thank yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. And I just always like to give a scenario to truly put it into perspective. The last thing that I'd like to do, whenever I do a presentation or a training, the key thing is the application, right? So I always say I always like for people to understand how they're going to move forward and apply the learning. If not, the training may have been great, but if you don't utilize it, it was not helpful. So I'd like for you all to take a moment to reflect. So think about this, and you don't have to share out. This is your personal self-reflection. What's currently the most difficult part of conflict resolution for you? And then based on that, how will you utilize the learning today? And keep it simple. Just one shift, one thing you want to utilize. So it may be, I'm just gonna focus on pausing right now. And then once you've mastered that, then you can move on to something else as it relates to conflict resolution. But what do you want to intentionally utilize going forward? You're gonna intentionally make this a new part of your conflict resolution. And once again, do not expect you to share out, but do want you to reflect and commit to at least one shift, one thing you want to utilize from the learning today. All right. So I did skip a slide. So just in summary, key takeaways. Think win-win and try to reach that win-win as much as possible. Want you to remember that your default style is automatic, but change is intentional. So we want that mindset shift, right? To not default to the automatic, but to use the framework to pause, process, and proceed to understand which conflict mode would be the best in each situation. And remember, the goal is not perfect conflict resolution, it's having a healthy conversation. And healthy conflict means the less stress you carry home. All right. So, what thoughts and questions do you have for me? And I can stop sharing.
You can place them in the chat or you can come off mute and ask them. If you place them in the chat, I'll facilitate your questions. Judith, I see your hand.
Well, I'll just share with everyone. The main thing I'm going to concentrate on is pause. Pause.
Mm.
And I do like what you said too, of course, to think win-win, but also the other one is important for me, self-aware to protect your well-being. Because that's why, I have to decide, how important, a relation is for me to have in my life. Is this something I want to have in my life? And so that means I would continue, with the other skills that you talked about, negotiate with. But if I've decided that this is a particular relationship that's not good for me to have in my life for my well-being, or stress, because those things do bring about stress,
Yeah.
and stress isn't good. It's not good for your health, And so if it's going to be an unhealthy relationship or something where you're just not connecting with the person, then I quickly decide that, this isn't something that's good for me to have in my life. So to protect my well-being, that's to me, that's very important now.
Mhm.
Kimberly said, pause so she can process safely and effectively, collaborate to find common ground to stand on and move forward.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions? So you'll know the information that Lakeisha indicated she had for us is in the chat. So if you click on the arrow pointing down, it'll take you, or at least for me, it took me right to my file and I could save it. Or if you want to click on it and print it out, it's there. So you can
It says in the chat.
yes, it's in the chat. So if you click on your chat, you'll see conflict resolution reset. You see it?
Yeah, it's a PDF document.
Right.
It just walks you through the reset framework that we spoke about, the helpful tips, as well as the Thomas Kilmann conflict modes of conflict modes. So
Thank
You
you.
see it?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Did anyone not see it? Okay.
Now, where is it? I see conflict resolution.
You see conflict resolution reset?
I don't see reset.
This
Oh, maybe it's just maybe your frame might be smaller, but do you see the Adobe the PDF
it's
emoji there? If you click on that, what would come up?
Oh, download.
it's
Okay,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, thank
Excellent
you all.
presentation, and thanks so much for sharing.
Yes,
This is
thank
They're
you
Thank you,
all
all
Sarah
for
around.
Lakeisha.
Hey,
having
let's put our emojis
Oh,
in our windows.
Lakeisha, do you do this for
How do
youth
they
as
get their
well?
things to go like that?
I have a question.
Go to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Lakeisha, do you do this with youth as well? Like we have Zenos and Kudos, and I mean this would be
Oh,
something really good.
How do they
That
get
Can
their
you put your
emoji thing to go
contact
up?
info? I'm asking her to put her contact information
sure.
in
Yeah.
the chat, and that way,
okay?
anyone that would like to.
Yeah. And absolutely we can adopt it
Young people,
for any yeah audience.
cool, very good, very good.
And I'll put my information in the chat.
I would just like to say it was great for me because I had been practicing the avoidance. If I avoid a person long enough, maybe they'll just go away and the conflict will die. Because there's a lots of things goes on in church. There's church hurt.
Mhm,
So I
Oh
just
yeah.
avoided this person, I think
mhm.
I'm just going to wipe her away. I'm going to pretend I don't even see her. So this really helped me with how to pause and proceed and resolve this issue. So
Mhm.
thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome. Yeah, because it never goes away.
Yeah.
mhm.
So her contact information is in the chat, everyone, and so you can uh, copy it and follow up with any other questions or thoughts you might have. There's a question that will the recording be available? I'm going to ask Dr. Walker to address that as I turn it over to her, who will acknowledge anyone that you want to acknowledge in closing. Thank you all, by the way, for being here. I know, I mean,
Oh,
I had no doubt in my mind that it would be something very helpful, especially we don't often tie conflict resolution to connect it with mental health. And yet, I mean, in hearing today, we've all probably had some mental health issues around conflict. So anyway, again, thank you, Lakeisha and Dr. Elizabeth. I turned it over to you.
Thank you so much. And I am so happy that many of you have all received something from it. We appreciate you for being here this afternoon. I am going to put this on a YouTube. Okay.
mhm.
I am going to put this on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
And the YouTube channel is called Scholarly Talk on Life. It's my YouTube channel, and I can put that in the chat.
please.
Um, Scholarly Talk on Life. It's my YouTube channel, and I will upload that immediately after um today. So it'll probably be I'd say about 15 minutes. And then after which I will send out the link. I'll send it out to the regional epistolist, right? Yeah, the secretary. And then we can see, and then we can take it from there. And then also, I will send it to Dr. O'Quinn and Lakeisha, and then they can kind of go there. Oh, yes, I can provide the link to my channel too. Um, YouTube,
Oh,
and that could,
Tiani Reed said she'd love to subscribe.
oh, that'd be
Mhm.
awesome.
It would be great if we all did.
That would be
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
Okay. So here it is. I don't want to do a shameless plug, but here we go.
Which
What plug is
it's
that?
all right.
But
Oh.
you can definitely go there, and there are other videos too, but this one's going to be front and center for sure. And
Oh,
and then we also have but again, we appreciate you all for attending. This is one of our last major events for the sororial year. as we plan to come with some excellent events for next year, starting in September. So we thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to our Madam President, Yvette, as you proceed and take us out.
Well, I would just like to thank the presenter, Miss or Mrs. Johnson. Thank you very much for taking time out to present conflict resolution. And I would like to thank everyone who took time out of their busy schedule to attend this professional development. The key takeaway, I believe, as we have heard, is mindset. It's like a paradigm shift. So we want to thank you, and hopefully we can apply some of these modes of conflict strategies. I would like to also thank the regional director as well as other regional officers for attending our workshop. Thank you very much, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done. Very well done.
Great job. Beautiful job.
Oh, I can.